Call to order, and I'm going to turn it over to our beautiful council.
Good morning. Let's see. Any declarations of conflicts? Okay. The record will note that there are no conflicts declared. Any public comments? Okay. The record shall reflect that there have been no public comments.
Excellent. And now that I see Maria Luisa, please, if you can do roll call.
Ms. Gutierrez?
Here.
Mr. Pago? Here. Mr. Holland? Mr. Meyer? Mr. Rodriguez-Pina? Chair Martinez? Here. Vice Chair Fano?
Here.
Oh, good. We also have Mr. Vasquez, Mr. Cancio, and Mr. Gonzalez present.
Welcome.
Thank
The more
you.
the merrier.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we turn over to the operations action item. Is there an approval of the summary minutes?
Move it.
Favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? It's recorded unanimously with approval. Moving forward. Item B.
Item B, MDX procurement contract number RFQ-12-02, MDX work program number 10019.050, construction engineering and inspection services for system-wide implementation of dynamic message signs.
Madam
Very
Chair,
good.
Juan Toledo is going to handle this item and walk you through the issues.
Good morning, committee members and board members. This is for the construction engineering inspection services for the implementation of dynamic message signs on the MDX system. Due to multiple factors, the design build finance team has fallen behind schedule on this project. Some of the critical issues have been with fabrication and also with contractor resourcing. As a result, we're anticipating that the contract is going to slip to end of January of 2016, and we're going to need to add funds to the construction engineering inspection services in the amount of $553,833.09. As a result of the delays, we are anticipating liquidated damages to be assessed for 193 calendar days based on our current schedule. We're working with the contractor to improve on that, but we would be assessing those and then offsetting that with the extra costs that we're incurring to oversee the project. The new limiting amount for the contract is now would be $1,961,739.29. All the small business requirements will be upheld in the contract, and we will be budgeting this in the work program through contingency.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move.
So we can discuss this item. Is there a second? Okay, the item is now open for discussion. Any questions from the board?
Just for the record, I want to acknowledge that Board Member Ferre is present. And do you have any conflicts to declare on any of the items that are here?
No.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Ferry. I have a question. So the end result is that it will have zero impact to the agency as it relates to funding, money,
That is correct.
although we're approving to expand and give, at the end it's zero
That's correct.
because you get it back because
That's
there's
correct.
a penalty. Just reaffirming that that's what it is. Very good. No questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carries.
Item C, MDX procurement contract number ITB 15-02, Customer Service Center Personnel. Reconsideration of item.
Madam Chair, Helen Cordero is going to handle this item. This is an item that came before this committee last month and is up for reconsideration today.
It was very well debated, I remember.
That's correct. Thank
I
you, ma'am.
didn't, you know, the witches are out, and I didn't bring a broom, so.
We don't consider you a witch, though. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a reconsideration for award of the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, FANU, for the customer service center personnel. As mentioned at the last operations committee, this item was presented with a recommendation to award the contract to FANU. The committee did not accept the staff's recommendation and directed staff to cancel the procurement and re-advertise. The committee's decision was prompted by the low dollar amount dedicated to small business participation in this contract. Although this contract originally was released with a requirement of 10%, at the mandatory pre-bid conference, all bidders pressed an appeal to the agency to eliminate the requirement of the SB participation, asserting that the subcontracting under this contract would not be feasible due to the small number of individuals that are being provided under this contract, a total of 13 individuals. In an effort to maintain some level of participation, staff lowered the requirement to only include possible cost of expenses that may be incurred related to training and or employee morale programs. The committee was concerned on the incorrect appearance of not caring, the agency not caring about small business participation in our contracts due to the low dollar amount. Staff recognizes the committee's concern. However, at this time, canceling the procurement and reprocuring would not be in the best interest of the agency, as the bids have already been submitted and publicized to everyone. So it does impact the competitive edge of the bidders, and it may deter them from submitting and bidding a new procurement. Staff is recommending that we remove the small business participation in its entirety out of this contract due to the previous mentioned circumstances, and go ahead and award the contract to the lowest and responsive bidder. This does not provide a competitive advantage because all of the bidders bid on the same requirements, and it does not affect the price. And the determination of the lowest bidder was based on the same requirements along the board, across the board for all bidders. So the staff recommendation is for the committee to reconsider the award of the contract with that change to the requirement of a small business, that there will be no requirement at this time.
Very good. And the process that we should take on this item, the procedure would be the same?
It would be the same.
Okay, very
We
good.
didn't vote on the original item.
So do we have a motion so we can open this item? Second? Okay, the item is now open for discussion. Member Vasquez.
Good morning, and thank you. Because I have two questions. One,
Mr. Vasquez, the microphone.
it's on.
It's on?
Yeah.
I can't hear at all. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Better now?
Yes.
So I have two questions. One has to do with wanting a little bit of clarification. I was coming in and out of the meeting last month, and I would just love a little bit of clarification as to what our concerns were. And then my second question is wanting a little bit of clarification as to perhaps expand a little bit on your comment that it's not in the best interest of the agency and why. But we could start here first, if you don't mind.
Yeah. The concerns of the committee was that the way that it was going to be proposed and awarded is that small business was only $1,500 a year. On a contract of this magnitude, which is roughly $700,000 a year, it was less than it was insignificant. So the appearance of $1,500 a year on this for small business gave the impression that we don't really care. We explained why we did it. We explained how the bidders appealed to us to eliminate it, but to try to get something in there, we put a minimum of $1,500. That was the crux of the discussion at the last committee meeting, Mr. Vasquez.
So nothing. I think
Yeah.
that explanation answered question two, but I guess what I'm trying to get to, nothing has really changed.
No, nothing
Why are
changed.
we no longer concerned? Because I don't know. Why were we even concerned in the first place if it was such a small
The
dollar
issue is
amount?
that typically for small businesses, there is a policy, the 10% that we add. But what we do is we consider it in every contract, and we see the availability of small businesses and the appropriateness of small business in a contract.
So it was an appearance concern?
Yes.
Okay.
Much.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
1,500 seemed like a ridiculous figure. And it would look like we didn't care, when in essence it is 10% of the top number. But it wasn't fair. That wasn't a...
It's always been one of our greatest concerns to make sure about business.
Correct.
It's something that we have prided ourselves on.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. And are you going to add something else?
Okay.
You don't want to add anything else to this item?
But it will be a 5-year contract with an option to renew for an additional 2 years. And the first 5-year term, the not to exceed contract amount will be $3.8 million. Obviously, the assignment of the personnel would be on an as-needed basis, and the agency and the budget would be approved on a yearly basis as
And-
part of our operating budget.
And what would be the rollout in case that we do start up with a back office partnership?
My understanding is that this contract will remain even once we do go through the consolidated back office, because this is more about the local issues that we take care of, and having a local office for
Okay.
customers to
So
visit.
they continue
So this
to
will
be the
not be
face of
affected by that.
MDX for customer
Correct.
service?
Correct.
Excellent. Good answer. Any other questions? Questions? No?
No, I do think, Madam Chair, Mr. Rick Rodriguez-Pena has arrived, and we should ask him. He is a voting member of the Operations Committee. So.
Right. Well, Mr. Walters.
Welcome, Mr.
And Mr. Cliff Walters has also arrived.
Yes. Welcome, Mr. Treasurer. May the record show that the Treasurer is here, and also Mr. Walters. We're on item that is up for reconsideration, which is item C. And the item is the one of the small business, $1,500. The item is the contract is now not going to have the small business component of $1,500, in case you wanted to add anything.
Well, first of all, I want to say my apologies for my tardiness. Madam Chair, I'm going to have to defer at this point, coming in late into the conversation, to your wisdom. I know that we had thoroughly discussed this at the last.
He's the one throwing you under the
Right.
bus.
No,
I'm not
I
the
appreciate
one.
it. And I've been on Broadway before, and I can dance well.
It was an act of love.
But I appreciate it. I see it as an act of respect, so I appreciate the sensitivity. But I remember last time we discussed it thoroughly, and coming in late to the conversation, I'll withhold comment.
If there's
That might be our first, by the way.
what?
That might be the first time we've heard a withholding of comments from
But
Mr.
you know what?
Rodriguez.
He threw the ball back. That was good.
Excuse
Any
me,
other
Chair,
questions?
Just for clarification of the record, Mr. Walters, Mr. Pena, have you reviewed the agenda? Do you have any conflicts to declare for the record?
No conflicts.
Okay, so noted.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other concern on this item? Hearing none, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? The motion carries. Next item.
Item D, MDX Work Program Number 83611, State Road 836-195, Interchange Improvements. And this item is for endorsement of eminent domain parcel resolutions 15-18 through 15-27.
Mr. Toledo.
Mr. Chen.
Committee members, on December of 2014, the board adopted a series of project resolutions for the major projects that require right-of-way acquisition. This is for Resolution 1404 was for the project 83611. These resolutions are similar to the resolutions that we have already brought in the past, basically for MDX to go in now and enter into negotiations or eminent domain for the parcels that we need to be able to build these projects. We would first try the negotiation process, and if those fails, then we go into eminent domain. But we're confident that we can resolve a lot of these through negotiation. All these are funded in the 5-year work program.
Okay. Anything else? Would you like to add anything? No? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Okay, the item is now open for discussion. What are we talking about?
Well, right now we have 10 resolutions in front of you. These are the ones that we're ready to proceed with. We're probably going to be coming back with more on these projects. I think we have on 836. We have how many?
Right now we have 11 total. We have 55 parcels.
So we'll be coming back with more resolutions for the additional 40-plus parcels that we're going to be negotiating. But we're talking about, on this project, what we're literally looking at are like slivers along the corridor. We're not looking at a lot of full takes or full impact parcels. So a lot of these resolutions are for the ones that we have here and the ones that we're going to be preparing are for the right-of-way that we need to do the project, which are slivers along the existing parcels.
In fully understanding eminent domain, what does that translate to? I come in and I take it over, or is it fair market value? What happens?
When you go into the eminent domain process, basically what will happen is we have to prove a need for the project. If the judge agrees with our point of view for the needs of the project, then we'll get an order of taking. We'll have the ownership of the land, but we'll continue negotiating with the owner.
Yeah.
At the end of that process, a judge will determine what the fair market value would be, and then we would end up
by law
purchasing for that value.
Madam Chair, by law, when we determine purpose and need, and we express that to the judge, and we get the order of taking, we also deposit the fair market value. The appraised value is deposited in escrow, and either the property owner can accept it through negotiation, or they have the opportunity to go to a trial hearing where there's a 12-person trial and determine the value of the property at a later date. But in the meantime, we take ownership of the property. But
And
through
just
an
for
order of taking.
clarification, this is the first step. We have to declare as an agency that there's a public purpose. So that's the purpose of the resolution, that as a board, you'll be determining that there is a public purpose for the property that we propose to take.
Very good.
Knowing that there's attorneys on the board, there's only two things in Florida that require a 12-person jury.
Yes.
First-degree murder.
Capital first-degree murder and eminent domain. So,
And
yeah.
for the record, Mr. Rodriguez just taught me that because I knew about the first one, obviously.
Yeah, I've had to go before many of those.
I've tried
juries.
capital murder cases, but I did not know about the eminent
In
domain.
expanding, are any of these properties home?
Right now, some of them are. Some of them will be homes. Most of them along this corridor are commercial.
We have Richard Glass,
The ones
consultant.
I'm sorry, Richard Glass, Glassland Acquisition.
Here, you, sir, you need to get to the podium and the microphone.
Richard Glass, good to see you all again. With Glassland Acquisition under GECA, H&DB contract. Some of these parcels are residential, but on the residential, they're only easements. There are no fee acquisitions on the residential. So permanent easements for maintenance and temporary easements for construction, in and out after construction.
And the reason you do that is because we're putting up noise walls in many cases, so you want to have the ability to get into their property and build the noise walls in many of those cases. So those are fairly simple to acquire.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Glassman. You don't have to go. I have a couple of questions for you. Any of these have been contentious so far? And the second part of that, are we anticipating any delays, because of these acquisitions?
On 83611, there are a couple that will be contentious only because there are fire lanes in some of the areas and we need to work out those issues. They can be all worked out. In doing these resolutions, it helps us accelerate an aggressive schedule because once they're approved, then after 31 days from making the initial offer, we can file an eminent domain lawsuit and therefore protect the schedule. And again, we continue to negotiate, certainly, throughout the entire process.
Any residents in particular that you feel that need to be brought to this board that should be of concern, or anything that we can do with whether it is above and beyond what you're doing?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor? Anyone against? Motion carries. Next item.
Item E, MDX Work Program number 87410, State Road 874, ramp connector for Southwest 128th Street. This is an item to endorse the eminent domain parcel 15-28.
Committee members, similar to the previous item, this is a partial resolution for a property on the east portion of the 87410 project where our ramps are coming down. Again, this is a partial resolution for negotiated conveyance or eminent domain, same as the previous item.
Is there a motion for this item? We need to open.
Make the motion.
Second. I hear the second. Okay, item is open for a discussion. Any questions from the board members? Here's a simple question, or a stupid question. Why do we need this piece of property?
We needed to accommodate our ramps that are coming in and the road and expand the roadway underneath it for the local traffic. So in order to be able to fit our ramp in the existing envelope, we need to widen into the existing properties.
Very good. And by doing so, that progresses what?
That progresses our connection for the A7410 to the west to provide access onto A74, and again, providing options, because right now the only access from that that southwest Dade community to expressways to the east is through the turnpike on 152nd Avenue or through southwest 120th Street. I'm sorry, 152nd Street or 120th Street.
So you need it.
This is providing options.
So the bottom line is that it's needed to provide an additional option to move traffic.
And improve traffic.
Yes.
Would you like to add anything?
No,
Mr. Rodriguez?
actually, there's another item after this, and then after I can add something to it.
Any other questions? You know this area very well, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything to it?
I agree with the process. This is part of the process.
Very good. Hearing no other questions, or would you like, you have a question, Mr. Cancio?
I would like to mention something that, that the 128th Street is very crowded and going to be very good for the people who live in the West Kendall or in the West Dade to take that ramp in the future. Absolutely. I know that it's Signature Garden there, but I think that it's a good move, and we have to do as soon as possible.
Very good. Hearing no other questions? There is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carries. Next
Last
item.
agenda item F, MDX Work Program Number 87410, State Road 874 Ramp Connector to Southwest 128th Street. This is an endorsement to purchase parcel 114 with resolution 15-29.
Toledo.
Committee members. Based on our property acquisitions policy, we require board resolution for acquisitions of parcels with a purchase price of $500,000 or greater, which is the case in this purchase. This is a parcel for the A7410 ramp connector project. The initial offer was for $539,100. We had a counter offer by the owner with a 10% increase over the initial offer, which is within the 25% that we have in our policy for purchasing. We follow a not to exceed 25% rule by policy. By accepting this offer, we're estimating that we can save $116,000 in litigation costs throughout the project. Of note, the owner of this parcel also has two other parcels that we've also negotiated for a 10% increase. Collectively, by buying these three parcels together at 10% over the initial offer, we're going to be saving over $400,000 in litigation costs if we had to go to eminent domain. So we feel that this is a very good opportunity for MDX to close out on three needed parcels in this corridor.
Okay, I need a motion to open the item. Is there a second? Second. Okay, the item is now open for discussion. Questions from the board? I have a question. How was the price determined? Based on what criteria were used?
We use our appraisers to come up with the price, and they use fair market value for the properties that we're acquiring. So we go through an appraisal process to establish the value.
And the appraisal value was appraised at the original purchase price? I'm asking.
I can have Richard, if you can please. Yeah.
Morning, Richard Gloss again. Parcel 114 was appraised by an independent appraiser for $539,100.
Okay. So that was the top end?
Actually,
no, there's a range of value within the appraisal, and this fit in that range of value. So it's not necessarily top end of the comparable sales, and that's what an appraiser does, establishes comparable sales and then establishes a value within that range.
right.
Okay.
And then our policy allows us, Madam Chair,
To give up to
negotiate
25.
up to 25% using our judgment, and in this case, it was 10% above. So that's why we're bringing it.
Madam Chair. So I think to follow your line of questioning, in addition to the offer that was made, they're requesting a 10% above that? Is
That was their counter offer was 10% above
the
our
539? So
Yes.
10% of, so another $50,000 plus dollars? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Amount that is on the agenda
Right.
for approval,
Right.
593.
Right. And that is still within the range of your appraisal? In other
Yes.
words, it's at the higher end, or
Yes.
that would be at the higher end? Okay. And then the other parcels that we've negotiated with this individual, have they been in the same range, or?
They're basically 10%. This is an unimproved property. The property next door, 115, is an improved property with some improvements in the area of acquisition. And then 116, which is on the corner of 128th and 122nd Avenue, is another vacant parcel, but it's an out parcel to a shopping center that this owner just built on the remainder property.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? No? Everything's been answered? Who's this LLC?
Well, there are 3 different corporations, and it all boils down to the Solaris family, who are developers and entrepreneurs here and out of the country. Very astute family, very astute developers.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, sorry.
Nope, no.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? I'm going to record my vote of no. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before we go to the reports, while we're talking about 874, I think Board Member Cancio mentioned the importance of the project. Secretary Pago and I and Chair Martinez have been meeting with various elected officials, and one of the folks that we met with was Commissioner Moss, who's looking at an express bus BRT system between the Kendalltown Miami Airport, or I guess they call it Miami Executive Airport now, getting on 128th, using this ramp to access 874, then getting to 878, which is Snapper Creek, and having some direct access to Dateland Metro Rail Station, which is exactly what we've been talking about in our strategic plan. So, again, advancing this project has a bigger context in Miami-Dade County and providing options to the community.
Good. If anybody else would like to add anything? Would you like to add on any of the procurement items coming up that we should know? And
No, Madam Chair, as far as the reports, they're in front of you. I think I've had this question asked of me multiple times, so I'll put it for the record again. We will not be releasing the RFP for GECA until at least next Friday, so the cone of silence has not initiated. I know that various contractors, consultants have been contacting for meetings. The cone of silence has not been initiated yet, so that's for the record.
And if I may, when the Executive Director is done, I have a couple announcements, if I may.
absolutely.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. We have so many board members here. First, thank you all for being here today. We have a groundbreaking with Overbreck on Monday, the 28th, at 10 o'clock, and I'd like to invite all the board members to be there. I think it would be a great show that we're going to be moving forward on our project. I will have Maria Luisa send out the information completely to all board members today. But just to give you a quick heads up about that, and I think it will be a really nice event where we're going to, I believe the Miami-Dade County Mayor will be there, and other officials to show their support for our program. Also, it's for any members who are not voting members of the Budget and Finance Committee. We'll be discussing the cashback program at Mr. Rick Rodriguez Pina's meeting this week, and I invite all members to be there. I think this is going to be one of our very big events and very big initiatives this year, and I would love the participation of all the board members, even those who are not members of Budget and Finance, to be there as well. That's all, Ms. Chair. Thank you.
Would you like to add anything, Mr. Secretary? Me neither. I'm going to take the fifth on this one.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We look forward to your presentation to the entire board of the special signature project.
Oh, yeah.
We do look forward to that because that's going to be unique. Anything else?
Nothing else, Madam Chair. I'll make a full report at the board meeting because I have been out for a while, so I'll make a full
But
report
you're
on.
still working.
Of course, of course.
It's still working. Very good. And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. We stand adjourned.
Madam Chair.